The golden rays of the setting sun painted the Dubai skyline in hues of amber and rose as Karim Al-Rahman adjusted his worn-out baseball cap and pedaled his rusty bicycle through the winding paths of Al Safa Park. The squeaking of the chain provided an oddly comforting soundtrack to his thoughts. To any passerby, he appeared to be just another working-class expatriate, perhaps a delivery man taking a shortcut through the park. Nobody would have guessed that this seemingly ordinary man was the heir to one of the largest real estate empires in the Middle East. 6 months ago, Karim had made a decision that shocked his entire family. Tired of the superficial relationships and constant manipulation that came with his status, he chose to temporarily step away from his luxurious lifestyle. His father, the renowned business tycoon Hassan Al-Rahman, had called him crazy. His mother had wept, convinced that her son was going through some sort of crisis. But Karim knew exactly what he was doing. "When was the last time someone looked at me and saw just me?" he had asked his younger sister Amira, the only person who understood his decision. Not the Al-Rahman fortune, not the future CEO of Rahman Developments, just Karim. Now, as he navigated through the park's peaceful paths, he felt a sense of freedom he had never known in his 30 years of life. He had traded his designer suits for simple jeans and t-shirts, his penthouse for a modest apartment in an older neighborhood, and his fleet of luxury cars for this squeaky bicycle. The only thing he had kept from his previous life was a small ruby ring, a family heirloom that remained hidden in his apartment. The park had become his favorite spot in the city. Here, among the palm trees and flowering bougainvillea, he could observe people being genuinely themselves. Families picnicking on the grass, children playing without pretense, couples walking hand in hand, all of them unaware that they were sharing their space with one of Dubai's most eligible bachelors. As he rounded a corner, his attention was caught by a striking woman sitting on a bench near the fountain. She visited the park almost every evening, always impeccably dressed in designer clothes, her dark hair perfectly styled. Karim had noticed how other men would stare at her, some even attempting to start conversations, but she would dismiss them all with a practiced wave of her manicured hand. Something about her reminded him of the world he had left behind, the carefully constructed facade, the deliberate isolation, the invisible wall between her and everyone else. Perhaps, he thought, she was just as trapped in her own way as he had been in his. Making a spontaneous decision, Karim stopped at the small flower cart near the park entrance. The elderly flower seller, who had become familiar with him over the past months, smiled knowingly as he selected a single red rose and a small box of traditional Arabic sweets. "For someone special?" the old man asked, carefully wrapping the rose. "We'll see," Karim replied, his heart beating faster as he considered what he was about to do. Sometimes the most beautiful flowers bloom in unexpected places. With the rose in one hand and the sweets in the other, he walked his bicycle toward the bench where the woman sat. For the first time since beginning his experiment in anonymous living, he felt nervous. Not the kind of nervousness he used to feel before major business presentations or board meetings, but a raw, genuine anxiety that came from putting his true self out there. The sun was setting lower now, casting long shadows across the park's green lawns. A light breeze carried the sweet scent of jasmine from nearby bushes. As Karim approached the bench, he reminded himself that this was exactly why he had chosen this path, to find something real in a world of carefully crafted illusions. Little did he know that this moment would set in motion a chain of events that would challenge everything he thought he knew about love, truth, and the price of authenticity. The woman looked up from her phone, her perfectly shaped eyebrows rising slightly at the sight of him standing there with his rusty bicycle and simple offerings. The next few seconds would either validate or shatter his belief that genuine connections could transcend social barriers. Either way, Karim was about to learn that sometimes the greatest risks we take aren't in the boardroom, but in offering our true selves to another person without pretense or protection. "Excuse me," Karim said softly, extending the rose toward the elegantly dressed woman. Her eyes, lined with expensive makeup, traveled from his scuffed sneakers to his faded jeans, lingering disapprovingly on his worn t-shirt before finally meeting his gaze. "I've noticed you here in the park," he continued, his voice steady despite his racing heart. I thought perhaps you might enjoy these traditional sweets and—" A sharp laugh cut through his words like a knife through silk. The woman's perfectly painted lips curved into a smirk as she stood up, adjusting her designer handbag on her shoulder. "Let me guess," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "You thought you'd try your luck with the pretty girl in the park. How quaint." She glanced at his bicycle, her nose wrinkling slightly. "I don't accept gifts from delivery boys or whatever it is you do. Do yourself a favor and stick to your own social circle." The sting of rejection wasn't what hurt Karim. The most, it was the realization that he had been right about the superficiality that plagued his world. Even in his attempt to escape it, he had somehow managed to attract exactly the kind of person he was trying to avoid. As the woman clicked away on her expensive heels, Karim stood there, the rose drooping slightly in his hand. A group of children played nearby, their laughter a stark contrast to the heaviness in his heart. He was about to throw the rose in a nearby trash bin when fate intervened in the most unexpected way. "Oh no, oh no, oh no!" A feminine voice caught his attention, followed by the sound of papers scattering in the wind. Turning around, Karim saw a young woman chasing after what appeared to be resumes, her long brown hair flying behind her as she attempted to gather the runaway documents. Without thinking, he dropped the rose and rushed to help, catching several papers before they could blow into the fountain. As he collected the last one, he found himself face to face with the most genuine smile he had encountered in months. "Thank you so much," she said, slightly out of breath. "I'm already late for a job interview, and losing these would have been the cherry on top of this disaster of a day." She extended her hand. "I'm Sophia." "Karim," he replied, noticing how her eyes crinkled at the corners when she smiled. Unlike the woman from moments ago, Sophia's appearance was refreshingly natural. Simple jeans, a white blouse, and minimal makeup. Her warm brown eyes held no judgment as they met his. "You're late for an interview?" he asked, helping her organize the papers. "Yes, at Al Safran restaurant," she said, checking her watch and grimacing. "Which is 15 minutes ago. I don't suppose you know a shortcut." Karim knew the restaurant well. It was one of his family's properties, though it was currently managed by others. A plan began forming in his mind. "Actually," he said, gesturing to his bicycle, "I could give you a ride. It's not exactly a luxury car, but it's faster than walking." Sophia looked at the bicycle, then at her watch, then back at him. To his surprise, she laughed. Not the mocking laugh he had heard earlier, but a genuine sound of amusement and relief. "Well, this day couldn't get any more interesting," she said, gathering her papers into her folder. "Why not? Though I should warn you, I haven't been on a bicycle since I was 12. As Sophia carefully settled herself on the back of his bicycle, holding onto his shoulders, Karim felt something he hadn't experienced in years, the simple joy of helping someone without any ulterior motives. The evening breeze carried the scent of her subtle perfume as they navigated through the park's paths. "So, what kind of position are you interviewing for?" he asked, steering carefully to avoid jostling his passenger. "Waitress," Sophia replied, her voice close to his ear. "Not exactly my dream job, but everyone has to start somewhere, right? Besides, I've heard Al Safran is one of the best Middle Eastern restaurants in the city." If only she knew, Karim thought, smiling to himself. As they rode through the streets of Dubai, the setting sun painting the sky in deep purples and oranges, he couldn't help but feel that perhaps his experiment in anonymous living wasn't such a failure after all. What Sophia couldn't see was the way Karim's mind was already working, forming a plan that would allow him to see more of this intriguing woman who had quite literally blown into his life. What he couldn't know was that this bicycle ride was just the beginning of a story that would challenge everything they both thought they knew about love, trust, and the true meaning of wealth. The following week found Sophia navigating her first days at Al Safran restaurant, unaware that her bicycle riding savior had anything to do with her surprisingly quick hiring. The restaurant's interior was a stunning blend of modern luxury and traditional Arabic design, with intricate geometric patterns adorning the walls and crystal chandeliers casting warm light over the dining areas. "These are the VIP sections," explained Yasmin, the restaurant's receptionist during Sophia's orientation. Her voice carried a hint of superiority as she gestured toward the more elaborate seating areas. "Not that you'll be serving there anytime soon. New waitresses start with the regular sections." Sophia nodded, taking mental notes while trying to ignore Yasmin's condescending tone. The receptionist was immaculately dressed in a designer outfit. That probably cost more than Sophia's monthly rent, her perfectly manicured nails tapping impatiently against her tablet as she continued the tour. "And remember," Yasmin added, "we have a strict dress code. Those shoes won't do." She glanced disapprovingly at Sophia's practical black flats. "We have standards to maintain." Meanwhile, in the kitchen's delivery entrance, Karim was implementing his plan. Dressed in cargo pants and a plain work shirt, he had arranged to become the restaurant's new ingredient supplier, ensuring regular opportunities to observe Sophia without revealing his true identity. "Fresh za'atar and sumac," he announced, carrying boxes into the kitchen. The head chef, Ahmed, an old family friend who knew Karim's secret, played along perfectly. "Ah, right on time," Ahmed said, examining the spices with exaggerated care. "Your supplies are always the best quality, Karim. Perhaps you'd like to explain to our new waitress about these ingredients. Sophia, come here." Sophia appeared from around the corner, now dressed in the restaurant's elegant uniform, a black dress with subtle gold embroidery. Her face lit up with recognition when she saw Karim. "It's you, my bicycle hero!" she exclaimed, then immediately blushed at her own enthusiasm. I didn't expect to see you here. I deliver supplies to several restaurants in the area," Karim explained, fighting to keep his voice casual. "How was your interview the other day?" "Obviously successful," she gestured to her uniform, smiling. "Though I was so late, I'm still surprised they hired me. Must have been my lucky day." From her desk near the entrance, Yasmin observed their interaction with narrowed eyes. Something about the new delivery man seemed oddly familiar, but she couldn't quite place it. His mannerisms, the way he carried himself, it didn't match his humble occupation. Over the next few hours, Sophia threw herself into learning the menu, practicing the proper pronunciation of Arabic dishes, and memorizing the complex table arrangements. During her breaks, she found herself gravitating toward the kitchen, where Karim was often sorting through deliveries or discussing ingredients with Chef Ahmed. "So, sumac isn't just a tree?" she asked during one such break, picking up a small jar of the deep red spice. "It's the essential ingredient in Middle Eastern cuisine," Karim explained, his eyes lighting up. "It adds a tart, lemony flavor to dishes. Here, try this." He sprinkled a tiny amount on her palm. As Sophia tasted the spice, her face brightened with surprise. "It's like sunshine and citrus had a baby. How do you know so much about Arabic cuisine?" "I grew up with these flavors," he said carefully, conscious of not revealing too much. "They're part of who I am." Their conversation was interrupted by Yasmin's sharp voice. "Sophia, Table 7 needs attention, and you're here playing with spices. This isn't a cooking class." As Sophia hurried away, Yasmin approached Karim, her designer heels clicking against the floor. "You seem very educated for a delivery man," she observed, her tone suspicious. "I take pride in knowing my products," Karim replied smoothly, though internally he cursed his habit of speaking too formally. That evening, after the restaurant closed, Yasmin stayed late, her curiosity getting the better of her. She began searching through old magazines and social media, certain she had seen the delivery man's face somewhere before. Her persistence would soon uncover what Karim had been trying to hide, setting in motion events that would test not only his carefully constructed plan, but also the genuine connection he was building with Sophia. What none of them realized was that the simple act of tasting spices in a restaurant kitchen was just the beginning of a story that would blend flavors of deception and truth, testing whether authentic love could bloom in soil fertilized with well-intentioned lies. As weeks passed, Sophia found herself settling into a rhythm at Al Safran. The once daunting menu became familiar, and she navigated the bustling dining room with growing confidence. Her natural warmth and genuine interest in the cuisine endeared her to both customers and staff alike, with one notable exception. Yasmin, the receptionist, seemed to take Sophia's increasing popularity as a personal affront. She began assigning Sophia the most difficult tables and the least desirable shifts, all with a saccharine smile that never quite reached her eyes. "Oh, Sophia," Yasmin called one particularly busy evening, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Table 12 is requesting our most knowledgeable server to explain the difference between all 7 of our lamb dishes. I told them you'd be delighted to help." Sophia took a deep breath, silently cursing the fact that she had yet to fully memorize the nuances of each lamb preparation. As she approached the table, frantically trying to recall the distinctions, she felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. "Allow me to assist," Karim said softly, appearing beside her with a tray of aromatic spices. "I was just delivering these and couldn't help but overhear." Together, they walked to the table, where Karim smoothly began explaining each dish, allowing Sophia to observe and learn. His knowledge was impressive, and Sophia found herself hanging on every word, as captivated as the customers. "And this," Karim said, gesturing to the final dish, "is our signature lamb mansaf, cooked for hours in a sauce of fermented dried yogurt. The yogurt is aged in-house, giving it a unique tangy flavor that complements the richness of the lamb." As the customers nodded appreciatively, placing their orders, Sophia turned to Karim with a mixture of gratitude and curiosity. "How do you know all this? You're not just a delivery guy, are you?" Karim's heart raced. He'd gotten carried away, allowing his passion for his heritage's cuisine to overshadow his carefully constructed persona. I used to work in restaurants back home," he said, the half-truth burning in his throat. "You pick up a lot over the years." From her position at the reception desk, Yasmin watched the interaction with growing suspicion. The ease with which the supposed delivery man had handled the customers, his perfect posture, the way he gestured while speaking, it all seemed incongruent with his claimed background. Later that night, as the restaurant emptied and the staff began cleaning up, Yasmin cornered Karim in a quiet hallway near the storage rooms. "I know there's something you're hiding," she said, her voice low and intense. "No ordinary delivery. Man speaks the way you do or knows the menu better than our head chef. Who are you really?" Karim felt his carefully constructed world begin to teeter. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, trying to sidestep her, but Yasmin blocked his path. "I've been doing some digging," she continued, pulling out her phone. "And I found something very interesting." She held up the screen, showing a photo from a business magazine. It was a few years old, but unmistakably Karim, standing next to his father at a charity gala. The headline read, "Al-Rahman, heir set to take over family empire." Karim's blood ran cold. He had been so careful, but he had underestimated Yasmin's determination. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. A slow, calculating smile spread across Yasmin's face. "Oh, I'm sure we can come to some sort of arrangement," she purred. "Unless you'd prefer I share this interesting tidbit with everyone, including your new friend Sophia." The mention of Sophia's name sent a jolt through Karim. He had come to value their growing friendship, the genuine conversations they shared during quiet moments in the kitchen or when he made his deliveries. The thought of her learning the truth like this, of seeing the betrayal in her eyes, was unbearable. "Give me a day," he said, his mind racing. "We'll talk tomorrow after closing." Yasmin nodded, a triumphant glint in her eye. As she sashayed away, Karim leaned against the wall, his heart heavy. He had started this journey to find authenticity, to escape the world of manipulation and deceit that had surrounded him. Now he found himself right back where he started, caught in a web of his own making. Outside the hallway, unnoticed by either Karim or Yasmin, Sophia stood frozen, a stack of menus clutched to her chest. She had come to restock the menu stand and had inadvertently overheard part of their conversation. The words Al-Rahman heir echoed in her mind, mixing with confusion and a strange sense of betrayal. As she quietly retreated, Sophia's mind whirled with questions. Who was Karim really? Why had he been pretending to be a simple delivery man? And most importantly, what did this mean for the friendship, and perhaps something more, that had been blossoming between them Little did any of them know that this revelation was just the beginning of a series of events that would test loyalties, challenge perceptions, and ultimately force each of them to confront the true meaning of authenticity. In a world where appearances often deceive, the following day at Al Safran was charged with an undercurrent of tension that seemed to simmer just beneath the surface of the restaurant's usual busy atmosphere. Sophia moved through her duties in a daze, her mind replaying the fragments of conversation she had overheard the night before. Every time the kitchen doors swung open, she found herself looking up, half expecting, half dreading to see Karim. But Karim didn't show up for his usual delivery that day. Chef Ahmed, noticing Sophia's distraction, placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Is everything all right, my dear? You seem a million miles away." Sophia forced a smile. "I'm fine, Chef. Just a little tired, I guess." Ahmed's kind eyes studied her face for a moment. "You know," he said softly, "in the kitchen we have a saying, a watched pot never boils. Sometimes we must let things simmer before we can understand their true flavor." Sophia nodded, wondering if the chef somehow knew more than he was letting on. Before she could respond, Yasmin's voice cut through the kitchen's bustling atmosphere. "Sophia, table 15 needs attention. And try not to look so gloomy. We're not paying you to mope around." As Sophia hurried to attend to the table, she couldn't help but notice the extra spring in Yasmin's step, the barely concealed smirk playing at the corners of her lips. Whatever Yasmin had discovered about Karim, it was clear she thought it gave her an advantage. The day dragged on, each hour feeling longer than the last. Sophia found herself making small mistakes, mixing up orders, forgetting to refill water, glasses, things she hadn't done since her first week. With each error, Yasmin's comments grew sharper, her eyes gleaming with a predatory satisfaction. As the dinner rush began to wind down, a commotion at the front of the restaurant caught everyone's attention. A group of well-dressed businessmen had entered, led by an imposing figure with silver hair and piercing eyes that seemed to take in every detail of the restaurant. "Mr. Al-Rahman," Yasmin exclaimed, rushing forward to greet the man. "What an unexpected honor. Your usual table is always ready for you, of course." Sophia felt her heart skip a beat. Al-Rahman, the name she had heard in the overheard conversation. Could this be Karim's father? She watched as Yasmin led the group to the VIP section, noting how the other staff members seemed to stand a little straighter, move a little faster in the presence of this important guest. "Sophia," Chef Ahmed called from the kitchen, "please take this special appetizer to Mr. Al-Rahman's table. It's a new dish we're considering for the menu, and I'd value his opinion." With trembling hands, Sophia took the beautifully presented platter. As she approached the VIP table, she could feel Mr. Al-Rahman's sharp gaze upon her. "Good evening, sir," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Chef Ahmed has prepared a special dish for your consideration." As she set the platter down, Mr. Al-Rahman's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're new here, aren't you?" he asked, his tone neither warm nor cold, simply assessing. "Yes, sir. I started a few weeks ago." He nodded, then turned his attention to the dish before him. Sophia was about to retreat when his voice stopped her. "Tell me, what do you think of working here?" The question caught her off guard. She was acutely aware of Yasmin. Hovering nearby, clearly annoyed that Sophia was engaging with such an important guest. Taking a deep breath, Sophia decided to speak from her heart. "It's been a wonderful experience, sir. I've learned so much about the rich traditions of Arabic cuisine and the way flavors can tell a story. It's made me appreciate how food can bring people together, bridging cultures and creating understanding." For a moment, Mr. Al-Rahman's stern expression softened, a flicker of something, approval, nostalgia, passing across his face. "Well said, young lady. It seems my son's restaurant is in good hands." Sophia's eyes widened at the mention of a son, but before she could process this new information, a commotion erupted at the restaurant's entrance. Karim had arrived, looking disheveled and out of breath. His eyes scanned the room frantically until they landed on his father, then on Sophia, standing next to him. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stand still. Sophia saw the panic in Karim's eyes, the recognition and surprise in Mr. Al-Rahman's face, and felt the weight of unspoken truths hanging in the air between them. As Karim started to move towards the table, Yasmin stepped into his path, a triumphant smile on her face. "Mr. Al-Rahman," she called out, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear, "I believe there's something you should know about our delivery man." The simmering tensions that had been building all day were about to boil over, threatening to scald everyone involved. In that moment, Sophia realized that the carefully constructed world around her was about to change irrevocably. And she wasn't sure if she was ready for what would emerge from the chaos. The tension in Al Safran restaurant was palpable, like the moment before a storm breaks. Karim stood frozen, his eyes darting between his father, Sophia, and the smugly smiling Yasmin. The other diners had fallen silent, sensing the drama unfolding before them. Mr. Al-Rahman's voice cut through the silence, sharp as a newly honed knife. "Karim, what is the meaning of this?" Before Karim could respond, Yasmin stepped forward, her voice dripping with false concern. "Mr. Al-Rahman, I'm so sorry to be the one to tell you this, but your son has been deceiving us all. He's been posing as a simple delivery man for reasons I can only imagine are less than honorable." Sophia watched the scene unfold, her mind racing. She wanted to speak up, to defend Karim somehow, but the words wouldn't come. What could she say when she herself felt so confused and betrayed? Karim straightened his shoulders, his jaw set. "Father, I can explain. This isn't how I wanted you to find out, but..." "Explain?" Mr. Al-Rahman's voice was low, controlled, but with an undercurrent of anger. "Explain why my son, the heir to our family's legacy, is dressed like a common laborer. Explain why you've been lying to these people, to me." The restaurant had gone completely still, every eye fixed on the unfolding drama. Chef Ahmed emerged from the kitchen, his usually jovial face creased with concern. Karim took a deep breath. "I needed to understand our business from the ground up, to see how people treated me when they didn't know my name, my wealth. I wanted to find something real in a world that's always felt artificial." His eyes found Sophia's, pleading for understanding. "I never meant to deceive anyone, especially not..." "That's enough," Mr. Al-Rahman cut him off. He stood, his imposing figure commanding the room's attention. "We will discuss this at home. For now, you've embarrassed yourself and this family enough." As Karim's father strode towards the exit, Yasmin's triumphant smile grew wider. She turned to Sophia, her voice sickly sweet. "Oh, Sophia, I hope you're not too disappointed. Did you really think someone like him would be interested in a simple waitress?" Something snapped inside Sophia. All the confusion, hurt, and anger of the past day crystallized into a moment of clarity. She stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "Actually, Yasmin, I think it's you who doesn't understand. Karim may have hidden his identity, but he never once treated me or anyone else here as less than his equal. He showed genuine interest in our lives, our struggles. Can you say the same?" Yasmin's smile faltered, but before she could retort, Chef Ahmed spoke up. "Mr. Al-Rahman, if I may." All eyes turned to the chef. "Your son has shown more dedication and passion for this restaurant in the past weeks than I've seen from any owner in years. He's learned every aspect of our operation, from the spices we use to the challenges our staff face daily. That's not deception, that's leadership." Mr. Al-Rahman paused, his hand on the door. For a moment, the hard lines of his face softened, and he looked at his son with a mixture of exasperation and, was that pride? "We will discuss this at home," he repeated, but his tone had lost some of its edge. With a final nod to Chef Ahmed, he left. As the door closed behind him, the spell of silence broke. The restaurant erupted into hushed conversations, diners excitedly discussing what they had just witnessed. Yasmin, her plan having not quite worked out as she'd hoped, retreated to her reception desk, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. Karim stood in the center of it all, looking lost. His eyes found Sophia's, and he took a step towards her. "Sophia, But Sophia held up a hand, stopping him. "Not now, Karim. I think we all need some time to process this." That she turned and walked into the kitchen, leaving Karim standing alone, surrounded by the whispers and stares of the other patrons. As the night wore on and the restaurant slowly emptied, the staff moved through their closing duties in a daze. The events of the evening hung in the air like a heavy spice, flavoring every interaction with uncertainty and unspoken questions. Sophia found herself in the back alley behind the restaurant, taking out the trash as part of her closing duties. The cool night air was a relief after the stifling atmosphere inside. As she hefted a bag into the dumpster, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, she saw Karim standing there, still in his delivery uniform, looking more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. "Sophia," he said softly, "I know I have no right to ask, but can we talk?" As Sophia looked at him, she realized that despite everything, despite the lies and the revelations, a part of her still wanted to hear what he had to say. And in that moment, under the starlit Dubai sky, surrounded by the lingering aromas of the kitchen and the distant hum of the city, she knew that their story was far from over. The question was, what would the next chapter hold? The alley behind Al Safran was quiet, save for the distant hum of traffic and the occasional clang of pots from the kitchen. Sophia stood, her arms crossed, regarding Karim with a mixture of hurt, confusion, and curiosity. The man before her, no longer just a simple delivery guy but the heir to an empire, shifted uncomfortably under her gaze. "You have 5 minutes," Sophia said, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her heart. "Make them count." Karim took a deep breath, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "I never meant for any of this to happen," he began. "When I started this experiment, I thought I was just trying to understand our business better, to connect with people on a real level. But then I met you, and everything changed." Sophia's expression remained guarded, but she didn't interrupt. Encouraged, Karim continued, "Every conversation we had, every moment we shared, that was real, Sophia. My feelings for you are real." "But built on a lie," Sophia countered, her voice tinged with bitterness. "Do you have any idea how it felt to overhear that conversation with Yasmin? To realize that the person I thought I knew was just a character you were playing?" Karim winced at her words. "I'm sorry, I know an apology isn't enough, but I truly am sorry for hurting you. I got so caught up in this new life, in the freedom of being just Karim, not Karim al-Rahman, that I lost sight of the consequences." A moment of silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken words and conflicting emotions. Finally, Sophia spoke, her voice softer now. "Why did you do it? Really? Not the noble reasons you gave your father, but the real reason." Karim leaned against the alley wall, his eyes distant. "All my life I've been surrounded by people who only saw my family name, my wealth. Friends, girlfriends, business associates. I never knew if they liked me for me or for what I could do for them. I thought if I could start fresh, with no one knowing who I was, I could find something genuine." He looked at Sophia, his eyes pleading for understanding. "And I did. With you, with the staff here at Al Safran. For the first time in my life, I felt like people saw me, not just my family's legacy." Sophia's stern expression softened slightly. Despite her anger, she could see the sincerity in Karim's eyes. "I understand why you did it," she said slowly, "but that doesn't make it right. You lied to everyone, including me." "I know," Karim nodded, his shoulders slumping. "And I'll spend every day making it up to you, to everyone, if you'll let me. I want to be the person you thought I was, Sophia, the person I became when I was with you." Just then, the back door of the restaurant opened and Chef Ahmed stepped out. His eyes moved between Karim and Sophia, a knowing look on his face. "Ah, I thought I might find you two out here. Karim, your father called. He wants you home." Karim nodded, then turned back to Sophia. "Will you give me a chance to prove myself, to show you who I really am? Not the heir, not the delivery guy, but just me?" Sophia was quiet for a long moment, weighing her feelings against her sense of betrayal. Finally, she spoke. "I can't promise anything, Karim, but I'm willing to listen, not tonight, though. We both need time to process everything." Relief washed over Karim's face. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. "Thank you, Sophia. That's more than I deserve." As Karim turned to leave, Chef Ahmed placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember, my boy, the finest dishes require time and patience to develop their full flavor. Trust the process." Karim nodded, grateful for the chef's wisdom. With a final glance at Sophia, he walked out of the alley and into the Dubai night, his mind already racing with plans to make things right. After he left, Chef Ahmed turned to Sophia. "You know, in all my years running this kitchen, I've never seen someone work as hard as Karim did to understand our world. Whatever his reasons for starting, his passion was genuine." Sophia sighed, leaning against the cool brick wall. "I know, Chef. That's what makes this so complicated. Everything felt so real." "Perhaps," Ahmed said gently, "it was real because he allowed himself to be real with you. Sometimes we must lose ourselves to find our true selves." As Sophia pondered the chef's words, she realized that her own journey was just beginning. She had come to Dubai seeking a fresh start, and now she found herself entangled in a story far more complex than she could have imagined. The night air carried the lingering scents of cumin and cardamom, reminding Sophia of the first time Karim had taught her about Arabic spices. Despite everything, a small smile tugged at her lips. Whatever happened next, she knew that her life had been irrevocably flavored by her time at Al Safran and her encounters with the enigmatic Karim al-Rahman. As she walked back into the restaurant to finish her closing duties, Sophia felt a mix of apprehension and excitement for what the future might hold. The ingredients of their story had been laid out. Now it was time to see what dish fate would prepare. The following weeks at Al Safran brought a whirlwind of changes. Karim's true identity as the owner's son had spread through the staff like wildfire, creating a mix of awe, resentment, and curiosity. Sophia found herself at the center of it all, fielding questions from her co-workers about her relationship with Karim, while trying to sort out her own conflicted feelings. Yasmin, much to everyone's surprise, had been reassigned to a different restaurant within the Al-Rahman group. The official reason was strategic restructuring, but the knowing glances exchanged by the staff suggested otherwise. Her replacement, a warm and efficient woman named Fatima, brought a welcome change to the front-of-house atmosphere. One quiet afternoon, as Sophia was polishing cutlery in the back, she overheard a conversation between Chef Ahmed and Mr. Al-Rahman. "I must admit, Ahmed," Mr. Al-Rahman was saying, his voice softer than Sophia had ever heard it, "when Karim first told me about his experiment, I thought he had lost his mind. But seeing the changes he's implemented, the way the staff responds to him now, it's remarkable." "Your son has a gift, sir," Ahmed replied. "He truly listens to people, from the dishwashers to the sommeliers. It's rare to find that quality in someone born to such privilege." Their voices faded as they moved towards the office, leaving Sophia to ponder their words. It was true. In the past weeks, Karim had been a whirlwind of activity, implementing changes based on the insights he'd gained during his time as a delivery man. He had improved the staff break room, adjusted schedules to allow for better work-life balance, and even started a program to teach interested employees about wine pairings and advanced culinary techniques. Despite her lingering hurt, Sophia couldn't help but be impressed. This was the Karim she had come to know, passionate, caring, and dedicated to making a difference in people's lives. Later that evening, as Sophia was heading home, she found Karim waiting by the staff exit. He looked different now, gone were the worn t-shirts and cargo pants, replaced by a crisp button-down and tailored slacks. Yet his eyes held the same warmth she had always seen in them. "Sophia," he said, his voice tinged with hope and nervousness, "I was wondering if we could talk. Really talk, I mean. No more secrets, no more lies." Sophia hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Okay, but not here." They ended up at a small, unassuming cafe a few blocks away from Al Safran. As they settled into a quiet corner booth, the tension between them was palpable. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said that night in the alley," Karim began, his fingers tracing the rim of his coffee cup. "About wanting to be the person you thought I was. I realized that person. The one who was passionate about food, who cared about the staff, who wanted to make a difference, and that's who I truly am. The deception was in pretending to be someone of a lower social status, not in the person I became around you. Sophia listened intently, her own coffee cooling forgotten before her. I understand that, Karim, and I've seen the changes you've made at the restaurant. They're impressive, but you're still hurt, Karim finished for her. And you have every right to be. I betrayed your trust, and I know that's not easily regained. Sophia nodded, grateful for his understanding. It's not just about me, though. What about all the other staff? They trusted you too. Karim leaned forward, his eyes intense. That's why I've been working so hard to make things right, not just with grand gestures, but by continuing to be the person I was when I was just a delivery guy. I'm still learning from everyone, still asking for their input. I want to earn their trust back, just like I want to earn yours. As they continued to talk, Sophia found herself remembering all the reasons she had been drawn to Karim in the first place: his genuine interest in others, his passion for food and culture, his desire to make a positive impact. The hurt was still there, but it was slowly being tempered by understanding and a cautious hope. I can't promise anything, Sophia said as their conversation wound down, but I'm willing to give you a chance to prove yourself, not just to me, but to everyone at Al Safran. Karim's face lit up with a mixture of relief and determination. That's all I ask for, a chance. As they left the cafe and walked into the warm Dubai evening, Sophia felt a sense of anticipation. The city around them was a blend of old and new, tradition and innovation, much like the story unfolding between her and Karim. She thought back to something Chef Ahmed had once told her. In cooking, as in life, it's not just about the ingredients you start with, but how you combine them and allow them to transform each other. Looking at Karim, she realized that their story was far from over. They had new ingredients now: truth, understanding, and a shared desire to create something meaningful. What they would cook up together remained to be seen, but Sophia found herself excited to be part of the process. As they parted ways, the lights of Dubai twinkling around them like stars brought down to earth, Sophia felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them. In the kitchen of Al Safran and in the unpredictable recipe of her relationship with Karim. As the weeks turned into months, Al Safran underwent a transformation that was as subtle as it was profound. Under Karim's guidance and with input from staff at all levels, the restaurant began to evolve into something truly unique in Dubai's competitive culinary scene. Sophia found herself at the heart of this transformation. Her natural talent for connecting with people, combined with her growing knowledge of Middle Eastern cuisine, made her an invaluable bridge between the kitchen, the dining room, and Karim's ambitious vision. One busy evening, as Sophia expertly navigated the packed dining room, she overheard snippets of conversation that made her smile. "I can't believe how this place has changed," one regular customer was saying. "It's like they've taken everything." That was great about Al Safran and elevated it to a whole new level. His companion nodded in agreement. "And did you hear? They're starting a program to train and employ refugees from war-torn countries in the Middle East, giving them a fresh start here in Dubai." Sophia's heart swelled with pride. The refugee program had been her idea, born from late-night conversations with Karim about their shared desire to make a real difference in people's lives. Seeing it come to fruition and hearing customers talk about it with such enthusiasm was deeply gratifying. As she made her way back to the kitchen, Sophia caught Karim's eye across the room. He was in deep conversation with a group of investors, but he paused to give her a warm smile and a subtle thumbs up. In that moment, she felt a flutter in her chest that had nothing to do with the busy dinner service. Later that night, as the last customers trickled out and the staff began their closing routines, Chef Ahmed called everyone together for an announcement. "My friends," he began, his eyes twinkling with excitement, "I have some wonderful news. Thanks to the hard work and creativity of everyone here, Al Safran has been nominated for the prestigious Golden Spoon Award." A cheer went up from the assembled staff. The Golden Spoon was one of the highest honors in the Middle Eastern culinary world, recognizing not just exceptional food, but also innovation and social responsibility. As the excitement died down, Karim stepped forward. "This nomination belongs to all of you," he said, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. "From our dishwashers to our sous chefs, from our servers to our sommeliers, every single person here has contributed to making Al Safran what it is today. And there's one person in particular I'd like to recognize." Sophia felt her cheeks grow warm as Karim's eyes found hers. "Sophia," he continued, "your idea for the refugee program was the spark that ignited this transformation. You reminded us that a great restaurant isn't just about food. It's about creating a place where people can come together, share experiences, and make a positive impact on the world." The staff burst into applause, and Sophia found herself enveloped in hugs from her colleagues. As the impromptu celebration continued, she made her way to Karim's side. "Thank you," she said softly. "But this isn't just about me. It's about all of us working together." Karim nodded, a tender look in his eyes. "I know. That's what makes it so special." As the night wore on and the staff slowly dispersed, Sophia and Karim found themselves alone in the now quiet restaurant. The air was still fragrant with the lingering aromas of the evening's dishes, a heady mix of spices, grilled meats, and sweet desserts. "So," Sophia said, a hint of playfulness in her voice, "is this what you imagined when you first started? Your undercover boss's routine?" Karim laughed, shaking his head. "Not even close. This is so much better than anything I could have dreamed up." They fell into a comfortable silence, both reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. The hurt and betrayal of those early days seemed like a distant memory now, replaced by a deep mutual respect and a growing affection that neither could deny. "Sophia," Karim said finally, his voice soft but sure, "I know we've been taking things, slow rebuilding trust and focusing on the restaurant, but I want you to know, my feelings for you have only grown stronger. You challenge me, inspire me, make me want to be a better person every day." Sophia felt her heart race as she met Karim's gaze. "I feel the same way," she admitted. "I was so afraid of being hurt again, but you've shown me day after day that you're the man I always believed you could be." As they stood there in the dimly lit restaurant that had become the backdrop to their unfolding story, Sophia realized that they had created something truly special, a fusion of their passions, dreams, and shared vision for the future. Karim reached out, gently taking her hand in his. "Whatever comes next, the award ceremony, the expansion of the refugee program, the future of Al Safran, I want to face it together, as partners in every sense of the word." Sophia squeezed his hand, her heart full of hope and excitement. "For the future." "Partners," she agreed, smiling up at him. "I like the sound of that." As they left the restaurant, stepping out into the warm Dubai night, they both knew that their journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, new recipes to perfect, and a world of possibilities to explore. But together, they were ready to write the next chapter of their story. A tale of love, ambition, and the transformative power of following one's passions. The lights of the city twinkled around them, as bright and full of promise as their shared future. In that moment, Sophia and Karim knew that they had found something rare and precious, a love that, like the finest cuisine, would only grow richer and more complex with time. The weeks leading up to the Golden Spoon Awards were a whirlwind of activity at Al Safran. The entire staff was energized, perfecting dishes and refining service with a renewed sense of purpose. Sophia and Karim worked tirelessly side by side, their partnership in the restaurant mirroring the deepening of their personal relationship. However, as the old saying goes, the course of true love and success never did run smooth. It began with a series of small setbacks. A shipment of rare spices was delayed, throwing off the kitchen's carefully planned menu for a week. Then, one of their star sous chefs fell ill, forcing the team to scramble to cover his shifts. But it was the third blow that really tested their resolve. One morning, Sophia arrived at the restaurant to find Karim in heated discussion with his father and a group of stern-looking men in suits. As she approached, she could hear snippets of their conversation. "Absolutely unacceptable. The reputation of the entire Al-Rahman group is at stake, Mr. Al-Rahman was saying, his face flushed with anger. Karim spotted Sophia and quickly excused, himself pulling her aside. "We have a problem," he said, his voice low and tense. "Someone's been spreading rumors about our refugee program, claiming we're exploiting workers and cutting corners on food safety to save costs." Sophia felt her stomach drop. "But that's ridiculous. We've been so careful to ensure everything is above board." "I know," Karim sighed, running a hand through his hair. "But the accusations are gaining traction on social media. Some of our investors are getting nervous." Over the next few days, the situation escalated. A local tabloid ran a scathing article, complete with quotes from an anonymous former employee who claimed to have insider knowledge of Al Safran's supposed misdeeds. Reservations began to drop off, and Sophia overheard whispers from customers questioning the restaurant's practices. The stress began to take its toll on everyone. The kitchen staff, once a harmonious unit, started snapping at each other. Front of house morale dipped as servers had to field uncomfortable questions from diners. Even Chef Ahmed, usually a pillar of calm, seemed on edge. One evening, after a particularly grueling service, Sophia found Karim alone in the office, staring blankly at a stack of cancellation notices. "Hey," she said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "How are you holding up?" Karim looked up at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of frustration and determination. "I'm not going to lie, Sophia. This is tough. Everything we've worked for is at risk." Sophia pulled up a chair beside him. "I know, but we can't give up. Not when we know the truth." Karim nodded, taking her hand in his. "You're right. But how do we fight this? The more we deny the accusations, the more guilty we look." They sat in silence for a moment, both lost in thought. Suddenly, Sophia's eyes lit up. "What if we don't fight it? What if we open our doors instead?" "What do you mean?" Karim asked, intrigued. "Let's invite the media, food critics, even our accusers to come see for themselves. We'll do an open house, show them every aspect of our operation, from the kitchen to our training programs. Let them talk to our staff, especially those in the refugee program." A slow smile spread across Karim's face. "Transparency, I like it, but it's risky. What if they twist what they see?" "Then we'll have nothing to hide," Sophia said firmly. "And our team will stand with us. They know the truth." Over the next week, they put their plan into action. The staff rallied around the idea, each person eager to show the world what Al Safran was really about. They reached out to reputable food critics, invited local news stations, and even extended an invitation to the anonymous source of the accusations. The day of the open house arrived, and the restaurant buzzed with nervous energy. As the first journalists and critics began to arrive, Sophia felt a moment of doubt. What if this backfired? What if they couldn't convince people of the truth? But as she watched Karim confidently lead the first group on a tour of the kitchen, his passion for the restaurant and its mission evident in every word, she knew they had made the right choice. This was their chance to show the world the real heart of Al Safran. Throughout the day, visitors were treated to behind-the-scenes looks at every aspect of the restaurant's operations. They watched cooking demonstrations, spoke with staff members from all levels, and even participated in a mini training session similar to what the refugee program participants experienced. The highlight came when Amira, a young Syrian woman who had been one of the first graduates of their refugee program, stood up to speak. Her voice trembling with emotion, she shared her story of fleeing war, finding hope in Dubai, and building a new life thanks to the skills and support she received at Al Safran. As the day drew to a close, Sophia and Karim stood together, watching the last of the visitors leave. The air was thick with the aromas of the dishes that had been prepared. Throughout the day, a testament to the passion and skill of their team. "Do you think it worked?" Sophia asked, leaning into Karim's side. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders, pulling her close. "I think we showed them the truth. What they do with it is up to them. But I'm proud of us, of our whole team, for standing up for what we believe in." As they locked up the restaurant that night, both felt a mixture of exhaustion and hope. They had faced their first real test as partners, both in business and in life, and had come through it stronger. Whatever the outcome, they knew they could face any challenge as long as they stood together. Little did they know, the true impact of their bold move was yet to be revealed, and it would change the course of their journey in ways they could never have imagined. The days following Al Safran's open house were filled with a tense anticipation. Sophia and Karim found themselves constantly refreshing news sites and social media, anxiously awaiting the public's response. The staff, too, seemed to be walking on eggshells, their usual banter, replaced by hushed conversations and worried glances. It was on a quiet Tuesday morning, as Sophia was prepping for the lunch service, that the first sign of change appeared. A notification pinged on her phone. A major food critic had published their review of the open house experience. With trembling hands, she opened the article and began to read aloud to the kitchen staff who had gathered around her. In an industry often shrouded in secrecy, Al Safran's bold move towards radical transparency is nothing short of revolutionary. What I witnessed was not just a restaurant, but a vibrant community built on passion, integrity, and a genuine desire to make a difference. A cheer erupted in the kitchen, growing louder as Sophia continued to read the glowing review. Chef Ahmed wiped a tear from his eye, and even the usually stoic dishwashers were grinning from ear to ear. As if a dam had broken, more positive press began to flood in. Food bloggers praised Al Safran's innovative approach to social responsibility. News outlets ran features on the refugee program, highlighting success stories like Amira's. Even some of their harshest critics were forced to acknowledge the authenticity and transparency of the restaurant's operations. The tide of public opinion had turned dramatically. Reservations, which had slowed to a trickle, suddenly surged. The phone was ringing off the hook with people eager to experience the restaurant that was being hailed as a model of ethical business practices in the culinary world. Amidst the whirlwind of renewed activity and media attention, Karim received an unexpected call. It was from the organizers of the Golden Spoon Awards. "They want to move up the ceremony," he told Sophia, his eyes wide with disbelief. "They say our story has generated so much interest that they want to capitalize on the momentum. It's in 2 weeks." The news sent a fresh wave of excitement and stress through the Al Safran team. Suddenly, they weren't just preparing for a busy service. They were gearing up for what could be the defining moment of their careers. As the day of the ceremony approached, Sophia found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her to this point. From a struggling waitress to a key player in one of Dubai's most talked-about restaurants, she had come further than she ever could have imagined. And through it all, Karim had been by her side, their partnership growing stronger. With each challenge they faced, the night of the Golden Spoon Awards arrived in a flurry of excitement. The entire Al Safran team had been invited, and they arrived at the glitzy venue in a convoy of buses, a visual testament to the unity that had seen them through their recent trials. As they walked the red carpet, Sophia clutching Karim's arm, she was struck by the realization that, win or lose, they had already achieved something remarkable. They had built more than just a successful restaurant. They had created a family, a community that extended far beyond the walls of Al Safran. The ceremony itself passed in a blur of glittering lights, stirring speeches, and nervous anticipation. When the moment finally came for the announcement of the Golden Spoon winner, the entire Al Safran team held their breath. And the Golden Spoon Award goes to Al Safran. The roar that went up from their table was deafening. Sophia found herself swept up in a group hug, tears of joy streaming down her face as she looked at the beaming faces of her colleagues, her family. As Karim took the stage to accept the award, his eyes found Sophia's in the crowd. His speech was a heartfelt tribute to the power of authenticity, community, and perseverance. He spoke of the challenges they had faced and overcome, of the importance of their refugee program, and of the transformative power of food to bring people together. "This award," he concluded, his voice thick with emotion, "belongs to every member of the Al Safran family, from our incredible kitchen staff to our dedicated servers, from our hard-working dishwashers to our brilliant management team. And most of all, it belongs to the woman who has been the heart and soul of our restaurant, whose unwavering faith and brilliant ideas have guided us through our darkest hours, Sophia." As the crowd erupted in applause, Sophia felt a warmth spreading through her chest. In that moment, surrounded by the people she had come to love, basking in the glow of their shared achievement, she knew that she had found her true home. The after-party was a joyous celebration, with the Al Safran team at the center of attention. As Sophia made her rounds, accepting congratulations and sharing laughs with her colleagues, she caught sight of Karim slipping out onto a quiet balcony. Intrigued, she followed him. She found him leaning against the railing, the Golden Spoon Award glinting in his hands as he gazed out at the twinkling Dubai skyline. As she approached, he turned to her with a smile that made her heart skip a beat. "We did it," she said softly, coming to stand beside him. "We did," he agreed, setting the award down and taking her hands in his. "Sophia, He paused, seeming to gather his thoughts. Sophia waited, sensing that something important was about to happen. "This journey has been incredible," Karim continued, his eyes never leaving hers. "But the best part of it, the part that has made everything worthwhile, has been sharing it with you. You've challenged me, inspired me, and made me a better person. I can't imagine facing another day without you by my side." Sophia's breath caught in her throat as Karim slowly lowered himself to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. "Sophia," he said, his voice filled with love and hope, "will you marry me?" As the sounds of the party faded into the background and the lights of Dubai twinkled like stars around them, Sophia knew that this was the beginning of their greatest adventure yet. The sun was just beginning to set over Dubai's skyline, painting the city in hues of gold and rose as guests began to arrive at Al Safran. The restaurant, normally a bustling hive of culinary activity, had been transformed for a very special occasion. Twinkling lights adorned the walls, and the air was filled with the subtle fragrance of jasmine and roses. Today was not just any day at Al Safran. It was the day Sophia and Karim would say, "I do." In the year since Karim's proposal on that balcony, their lives had been a whirlwind of love, laughter, and continued success. Al Safran had gone from strength to strength, its reputation for excellence and social responsibility growing with each passing month. The refugee program had expanded, now partnering with other restaurants across Dubai to provide opportunities for even more people in need. But today, all of that took a back seat to the celebration of their love. Sophia stood in the small office that had been converted into a bridal suite for the day, smoothing down her dress, a stunning fusion of Western and Middle Eastern designs, much like the cuisine they had become famous for. Her hands trembled slightly as she adjusted her veil, and she took a deep breath to calm her nerves. A soft knock at the door preceded the entrance of Amira, Karim's sister, who had become one of Sophia's closest friends. "Are you ready?" Amira asked, her eyes shining with happiness for her soon-to-be sister-in-law. Sophia nodded, a radiant smile spreading across her face. "More than ready. It feels like I've been waiting for this moment my whole life." As they made their way through the restaurant, Sophia was struck by how perfectly the venue embodied their journey. Every corner held a memory, from the kitchen where they had first truly connected, to the table where they had sat planning the open house that had changed everything. The ceremony itself was an intimate affair, held in the main dining room of Al Safran. Chairs had been arranged in a semicircle, with an aisle down the center, leading to a beautifully decorated arch. As Sophia walked down that aisle, her eyes, locked with Karim's, she saw in them the same love and wonder she had first glimpsed all those months ago, when he was just a delivery man, offering her a ride on his bicycle. Chef Ahmed, who had become like a father to both of them, officiated the ceremony. His words were a touching tribute to the power of love, perseverance, and the magic that happens when two people dare to be their authentic selves with each other. "Karim and Sophia," Ahmed said, his voice carrying clearly through the room, "your love story is proof that the finest recipes often come from unexpected ingredients. You have taken the bitter and the sweet life has offered you and created something beautiful, not just in your relationship but in the community you've built here at Al Safran." As they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Sophia spoke of Karim's kindness, his passion, and the way he had taught her to believe in herself. Karim, in turn, praised Sophia's strength, her creativity, and the way she had shown him the true meaning of success. "I promise," Karim said, his voice thick with emotion, "to spend every day trying to be the man you saw in me from the beginning, to face every challenge and celebrate every triumph by your side. You are my partner in every sense of the word, and I can't wait to see what we'll cook up together in this adventure called life." With the exchange of rings and a kiss that drew cheers and applause from their assembled friends and family, Sophia and Karim were pronounced husband and wife. The reception that followed was a joyous celebration of love and community. The kitchen team, led by Chef Ahmed, had outdone themselves, preparing a feast that showcased the very best of Al Safran's cuisine. Dishes that told the story of Sophia and Karim's journey, from traditional Middle Eastern favorites to innovative fusion creations, were served to the delighted guests. As the night wore on, Sophia and Karim found a quiet moment amidst the celebrations. They stood together on the same balcony where Karim had proposed, looking out over the glittering Dubai night. "Can you believe how far we've come?" Sophia asked, leaning into her husband's embrace. Karim smiled, pressing a gentle kiss to her temple. "It's been quite a ride, but you know what? I have a feeling our greatest adventures are still ahead of us." As if on cue, Chef Ahmed appeared at the balcony door, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. "I hate to interrupt," he said, "but there's someone here who insists on offering their congratulations." Curious, Sophia and Karim followed Ahmed back into the restaurant. There, surrounded by a small crowd of excited guests, stood Mr. Al-Rahman. But it wasn't his presence that drew gasps of surprise, it was what he was holding. In his arms was a beautiful cake, clearly homemade, with the words, "Congratulations Sophia and Karim," written in slightly wobbly icing. "Father," Karim said, his voice filled with surprise and emotion, "did you make this yourself?" Mr. Al-Rahman nodded, a rare smile softening his usually stern features. "I realized," he said, his voice gruff with emotion, "that I had never truly understood what you were trying to achieve here at Al Safran. But watching you two, seeing the family you've built here, I wanted to contribute something made with my own hands, just once." As Sophia and Karim cut into the cake together, surrounded by the warmth and love of their Al Safran family, they knew that this was just the beginning of their story. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever new recipes life had in store for them, they would face it all together, partners in the kitchen, in business, and in life. And as the festivities continued around them, the newlyweds shared a secret smile. For they knew that the greatest dish they would ever create was the life they would build together, a perfect blend of love, passion, and the unshakable belief that with the right ingredients anything is possible. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope that Sophia and Karim's journey has touched your hearts as deeply as it has touched ours. Their story reminds us that true love often emerges in the most unexpected places, and that with passion, perseverance, and a dash of courage, we can all create something extraordinary. If you've enjoyed this tale of love, ambition, and culinary adventure, we invite you to explore more stories that celebrate the power of human connection. Click the link to your left to find a specially curated playlist of equally captivating narratives. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if Sophia and Karim's story resonated with you. Every day, we bring you unique stories that explore the complexity and beauty of life. Join our community in the comments section below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this story and what kind of tales you'd like to hear next. Remember, like the perfect recipe, life is all about finding the right balance of ingredients. Stay tuned for our upcoming content, where we'll continue to serve up stories that nourish the soul and ignite the imagination. Until next time, may your lives be filled with love, laughter, and plenty of good food.